Hello and welcome to this month's amazing lineup on the Her Version Impact panel. Her Version launched on January 5th of 2021 and had its first guest speaker in April of the same year. Since then, the Her Version platform has been expanding rapidly with over 350 YouTube videos, over 80 female guest speakers, and over 50 Impact panel guests. Just last month, we were streaming on 6 audio platforms, and as of this month, we are now up to 10: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, and so much more. I am thrilled to have a female panel filled this month as we talk about morning rituals, which is something we all need a reminder on, men and women alike. The conversation around this topic will be broad and will guarantee to educate you on so many areas of your life. Join us as we dive deep into our personal journeys and what we have created for ourselves in order to better our lives. For those of you that don't know me, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Let's jump right in. Want to become the best version of yourself? Just create a morning routine. Want a peace throughout your day? Just create a morning routine. Want to increase your daily productivity? Just create a morning routine. That is what all the gurus today are saying. But is it really all that necessary? I have some amazing ladies here to share some of their personal journeys with and without a morning routine. We are going to figure this thing out once and for all. Is a morning routine necessary? And if it is, what exactly should it consist of? Welcome, ladies. How is everyone today?
Good morning.
Hello.
We're doing great.
Hello. Listen, to start us off, I would love for each of you to introduce yourselves. I would love to start with Erika.
Good morning. My name is Erika Hull. I'm the co-founder of The Corner Office and the founder of Better Over Perfect, a method that we teach so that you can live a better life, not a perfect life, because that's not possible. I live in Ohio and I'm a mom of 6 children.
Beautiful. Miss Maureen.
Hi, everyone. Good morning from sunny Arizona. Sorry if you have snow and cold weather. I am CEO and founder of Maureen Scanlon Life Coaching, where I help individuals figure out who they are when they are alone and enjoy who they are. So good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Beautiful. Nicole.
Good morning, everyone from Costa Rica. I am a single mama to a 4-year-old boy, and I help women to find their divine alignment to live their fuck yes life.
Yes. Tina.
Hi, I'm Tina Kadish, founder of Life is Ideal, tuning in from Connecticut. And I help the women who are stuck in a 9-to-5, want to get out, want to figure out their purpose. And once they figure that out, I can help them launch a successful business strategy. So I'm a life business coach and author and speaker. And it's so great to be here today.
Love it. Thanks for being here, Tina. Lauren.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Lauren Lefkowitz. I am an executive leadership coach. I work with people to escape the trap of being fine, which is never fine, and break the work, sleep, repeat cycle. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm coming to you from the Washington, D.C. area.
Beautiful. Miss Jyoti.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jyoti Dugar. I'm also from the Washington, D.C. area in Virginia, and I am a transformational coach. I help people thrive in chaos and actually harness the power of chaos to be their superpower, especially leaders in the IT community and executives, because we know that being in IT and the commercial world can be very stressful and overwhelming. So I help people break out of that and actually thrive in the chaos.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have all of you here. Thank you for taking some time out of your Saturday morning. Some of you really early Saturday morning. Listen, for those of you that are listening live, we already have a handful of you on here. Thank you so much for hopping on and supporting us. We appreciate you being here. We can all use a perspective in this arena of morning rituals. So I encourage you to share this podcast right now and #ShareSquad. I'll be choosing random winners to receive some awesome giveaways for those that comment, share, and like while we are live. Also, this is an interactive forum, so feel free to comment or ask questions to have your questions pop up on the screen, and our ladies will be more than happy to give their advice. I would love to hand the floor off, starting with Miss Erika.
Good morning. Hey, ladies. How are we doing this morning?
Doing good.
Anybody else like totally jammed to the video music that
Yes!
we were playing at the beginning? I'm like all like, right? Okay.
Yep.
So that leads in to what I would love for us to kick off with. We're talking about morning rituals or routines, habits, right? These patterns that we create. We're not going to get into a heated debate first, but so whether we need them or not, because we have all different versions of what we think. So what is the one thing that you absolutely have to do in your morning without fail? If that one thing does not happen, it feels like the rest of your day is falling apart. What's that one thing for you? I know what mine is, and it's really, really, really simple. It's just a freaking cup of coffee, but and music.
That's what I was going to say.
So I guess it's two, really, cup of coffee and music. But what is your one thing that really just, if you don't do it, your morning doesn't start right? Nicole, go.
Okay, I'll go. Well, first, coffee. Have to have my coffee. Have it here right now. But I think just in bed, staying a little bit before I just jump out of bed. Okay, it's where I will start to think about, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to start my day? Like really creating an intention of how I want to start my day. So it's kind of visualizing the day. What I know what I have to do, but it's more than that. It's not just writing the to-do tasks. So it's really being intentional, kind of laying out the day.
After that cup of coffee.
After the cup of coffee.
Okay. Nicole, what's your one thing?
I have to do my gratitudes. When I open my eyes, I have to start each and every day listing my gratitudes. And for most people, that seems simple. Of course I do that. Well, being the single mama to a 4-year-old, I'm often jumped on right away. And so I have to put him down next to me and go, let's do our gratitudes, right? So I think it's also important to teach our kids to start that way as well. For people who are parents, and really taking the time to list all the things that we're grateful for, not just the big things, but the little things too, so that we are teaching our children, or maybe our partners didn't grow up that way, but so that we're all in the same boat of like, wow, we are really blessed to have this house, to have these comfy beds that we slept in tonight, to have electricity, to have friends and family, and really go through all of it so that we can start that day on that step of feeling grateful instead of feeling attacked.
I love that one. And, you know, I was just preparing and teaching a class on abundance. That's my word that I picked for this year. So, of course, I'm going to do at least one workshop on it. And you cannot have abundance if you don't have gratitude. Like, gratitude is the base formula to gain abundance. It's nothing else but a mindset. So it's really, I really love that that's what you start off with. Anybody else? Jyoti.
So it's funny that you mentioned dancing, because I'm a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 3, but I actually just recently realized it's just in my blood. I don't know why. It took me 43 years to realize that, but Nicole, I'm right there with you. I'm a single mom of 3 kids, and I found that just having fun and just throwing on some party music or dance music, and then just like letting go and release. It's just such a release. That I started doing it for myself. My kids kind of caught on to that because, you know, they have my blood. And, you know, anytime they're stressed out, they're like, you know, even if when it comes to chores, like, well, mommy, these chores would be so much more fun if you just played the boombox. I'm like, okay, you know, that's a simple ask. And we got so much done in the house, and they were actually asking for more chores. I mean, I called it family responsibilities, you know, because it's not a chore, and I told me you're not getting paid for this either, because I don't get paid for raising you guys. I don't get paid for cleaning the house. So they are onto it, and they have such a fun time, and that really sets us up for the rest of the day, which usually ends up going okay. But if it doesn't, then that's their go-to method. They're like, well, can you just play some music and maybe we'll feel better?
That's awesome. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, I can't see names because we're on.
Maureen.
Maureen. Thank you.
It's funny you were talking about abundance. So last year, my goal of the year was acceleration, and this year I went into 22. I was telling Tina before we got on air that this year I'm just kind of going with the flow. But my new thing in the morning now is just courage. It's courage to just say, you know what, I do those intention settings, but I've been saying to myself in the mornings now, just whatever comes, you can handle it. Whatever new things come, don't be afraid, because that's growth. Whatever, things that you're uncomfortable with, that's a good thing. That means you're shifting, you're pivoting. And so for me, my new morning ritual, besides coffee or 5 coffees, is, courage. It's really, for me, that's the game changer this year. And I'm just flowing with 2022. I'm not saying I have to do these things like I did last year. So courage is the word of the day.
Love it.
I love that. Lauren, what's your one thing in the morning?
Well, coffee. I mean, I think that's like almost universal, like coffee, tea, water, whatever the like morning drink is, right? But for me, what I learned was that quiet is something that I need in the morning. And so I don't have kids. I have a dog who is a morning dog. Like the sun comes up and she's like, hey, what are we doing today? And then she's napping a half hour later. But taking a quiet walk with her, and feeding her and sort of getting her in order. I used to turn on the TV in the morning or the radio and listen to the news, and the news just escalates you. And what I learned is, like, I don't need anything in the morning to listen to. I just need quiet. And it really just kicks my day off really nicely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, we're going to turn it back over to Sabrina for the next panel question.
Sabrina,
You are muted.
You're muted, Sabrina.
You're muted, Sabrina.
We're looking at Miss Maureen to take over.
Perfect. Hi, guys. So I love, Lauren, that you have your dog, because I wrote 2 books about dogs and how they're more enlightened than they are our relationship coaches. So yes, even if you don't have children at home, those dogs, man, they get you up and going. Especially, I have a border collie, which is super, super energetic, and it's like ball, 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 ball when I'm like barely awake. So side note on that, sorry. So my question to you ladies is, what is the difference, and what do you tell your clients? What's the difference between a routine and a ritual in the morning, and what is the difference, and how does it feel if you don't do one or the other? Erika.
So I think that this is a great way to get going, because there is a difference between routines and rituals. A huge difference. Routines, I believe, can be done at any time of day, at any point in time of day. It's not time specific. It's just this pattern. It's just a flow of things that you do. And sometimes it's not always the same, but they're generally the same things. So my morning routine is never 100% exactly the same, but the same steps are happening. I get up, I get ready for my day, I help my children, I help them get off to the bus. I do those things, right? A ritual is something that you have to do in the exact same pattern every single time. So routines can become rituals, but they are not the same thing. Habits can become routines, but habits are not routines, and routines are habitual, but they're not rituals. And they don't become rituals until you've done it for a very long time. And then it's just this flow. It's, I wake up, I do my gratitude, I meditate, whatever it is that became your ritual, but it probably started off as a routine one day at some point. And so that really is the difference to me. I think also rituals are a routine that become a very spiritual or centered thing for you. And so it's not necessarily a morning ritual. It's just a ritual that you do. My cup of coffee and the book that I'm reading, the book changes, but the cup of coffee and the book are the same. That's a ritual. The book is a routine, because it's a different one and it changes, right? So I think that's a really good way to look at them, because sometimes when we talk about habits, routines, rituals, it's very overwhelming, and people are like, fuck that. I'm not a habitual person. I hate habits, or I can't do routines. They never stick. And they seem to be very gimmicky. We have a lot of people who are out there selling routines, selling classes on routines. And that, I think, is the biggest mistake, because no one routine is generic enough for every single person. They have to be customized. I remember hearing one, I think it was in, and I'm not going to call anybody out. It was in a book. And then another woman did one called 5 to Thrive. And both routines were set up that if you were a mom of a young woman, of young children, there was no way you were ever going to accomplish that routine. It wasn't reasonable. But yet that's the audience that they were speaking to. And so immediately you felt like you were set up for failure, because you're like, I can't get up an hour before my children. Are you kidding me? I'm only getting 2 hours of sleep because I'm nursing a baby. But you want me to get up at 5 a.m. instead of, like, this doesn't make sense. How's this going to make me function better? So a side note on that, I think it's really important that no matter what you're setting in your life, that you look to somebody who has a very similar life season profile, is what we call it, where they're in a similar season of life that you are. Whether it's you're a professional, have no children, you have a lot of children, you only have one child, maybe you just have a partnership. Like, look to somebody who has a very similar life season profile and then see what they're doing. Because then that's a reasonable comparison. And so then maybe you'll start to develop something that's a little bit more reasonable to your life, and that can become a ritual. So that's my long, complicated answer.
I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Anyone else think there's a big difference between routines and rituals? Lauren?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Everything disconnected for a moment. Okay, great. I love working with clients in 5 minutes. And, routines are one thing. There's a lot of like necessity in routine, and like sort of the more primal necessity, right? Like, we need to be dressed, our children's shoes need to be on, whatever the things are that need to get us up and out the door. And that's what I sort of look at as routine, right? But ritual has this opportunity that elevates, right? The primal needs get us to baseline, and then ritual elevates us. And so if you can take 5 minutes, however your morning looks, and choose something, whether it's I drink my cup of coffee quietly in the bathroom, or or whether it's I sit and breathe quietly for 5 minutes, I set myself a timer, or I meditate, or I read a book for 5 minutes, whatever it is that is like something that makes you feel good, that's not part of the need to do routine, the need to do in order to get out of the house. And it's just a great way to reset. And almost everybody, almost every day, can find just 5 minutes. And if you can't, that's okay. You didn't get to the ritual that morning. See if you can fit it in later in the day. But when we talk about rituals and we talk about building stuff into our mornings, that can feel really overwhelming. And like, my morning's already so busy, what could I possibly add into it? And yet we can find 5 minutes. And I've started with clients who can find 1 minute. They set a timer on their phone, they set an alarm for themselves. That's the one, right? And then you build up the next day to 2, and you build up until you get to 5. And then I have clients who are like, I need 15. How do I get 15 in there? And they build a ritual that feels good to them. And it actually makes their mornings more efficient.
Thank you. I love that. I wrote down what you said. Routine is more of a need to do versus a ritual is more of a want to do. So I love that you said that. Is there anybody else that wants to?
Yeah, I want to say something about getting up earlier in the morning. So there's a lot of people that say, oh, getting up at 4:30, getting up really early, you can start your day and get going. And it doesn't work for me. And I used to stress over that I need to get up earlier to be successful. No, you don't. So really what works for me is getting up at 7. And I could still get my day going, productive. But I stopped stressing over what other people are doing that I thought would, because they're doing it, they're successful. This is what I need to do. So do what works for you, because we are all wired different. I saw a comment earlier. We're all wired differently. And so do what works well for you, and so that you can have fun. That's the other thing. Are you having fun? Like if you don't want to go to the gym, for example, find another way to stay healthy. If going to the physical location of a gym is not fun, you don't enjoy it, or maybe there's an activity within the gym that you enjoy. So find what works for you is what I'm proposing. Sharing.
I love that. I love that it's, well, there's no one size fits all, and do what feels good. And just because all the gurus and motivational speakers are saying you need to get up and make your bed and you need to work out and you need to, no, I love that, Tina. Thank you. And maybe because you and I are older and we don't like the gym, maybe that's why I'm so in tune with you. So Sabrina.
To go along with what Tina said, I actually, in my head, I wake up at 6, but in my head, I use the excuse to not wake up earlier than that the rest of America is pretty much still sleeping because I'm in Florida. So, everywhere else it's 5, 4, or 3. So that's my excuse that I use in my head to kind of get over that hump.
I love it. Justification for sleeping in.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever
Feels good, do it.
I think Nicole was going to say something.
Nicole.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on what Erika and Lauren both said, that I see routine as like those things that we need to do. It's kind of like what do you have to do to get out the door? But for me, ritual is really what is divinely guided. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing every day or every time I do it. But it's what is spirit source, my highest self, guiding me to do in this moment to be most aligned with what I need right now. So it's deeply listening to what I need in the moment. And so for me, that ritual time is super important because my morning ritual doesn't look the same every day. It's not going to, because I'm not the same exact person every day. I'm not dealing with the same things. I'm not going through the same things. So it's important for me to just drop in with myself, even if it is for that 1 minute in the bathroom, which I'm often not alone because my 4-year-old loves to interrupt me. But wherever I can get that time to just listen to what is it that I need right now, and how can I give myself that chance to fill my cup in that way so that I can move on with my day feeling like I'm going to be pouring from a full cup.
Oh, I love that, because your energy is different every single minute and every single day. And so you kind of have this newness to your ritual every day, depending on where you're at. So I love that. Even though ritual and routine to us sounds like the same exact thing every minute, every day, it's really not. It's just the act of doing something that best suits you every day, right? Anybody else? No? All right.
All right. We're heading over to Miss Nicole.
So actually, based on just what I just said there, and the fact that we are different every day, I'm wondering if your morning routines, how they've changed as you have evolved as a person. Would anyone like to speak into that? Erika?
Wow. Okay. So if we're just talking about like adulthood change, or are we talking about like lifetime? I don't know. I know I'm not the oldest on the panel, but I would have to say there's been significant changes. I think every time I had a child, it changed. Every time they stopped breastfeeding, it changed. Every time they stopped sleeping in my bed, my morning routine changed. And especially if we're just talking about mornings, because that's what we're focusing on today. I think also as my priorities have changed in life and my focus and realizing what is actually really important and what's not, that has changed my morning routines drastically. Giving myself credit for every single thing that I do also changed my routines drastically, because what I realized was I already had a routine. I was already kicking ass. I just wasn't giving myself credit for it. And so then I felt like, oh no, I don't have a routine. Yes, you do. You do all of these things every morning before you leave the house or before your kids go to school. That's a routine, even if it doesn't go in the same exact order, because it's not a schedule. And so that was the biggest shift and change for me, was to actually realize I already was really successful at routines. I just was never giving myself credit for it. So then once I started listing every single thing from wake up, get ready for the day, brush your teeth, wash your face, check, smoothie, check, wake up kids, check, like all of these things. I was like, damn, I'm rocking it. Right. So I think a lot of times that's where the shift is we shift to actually acknowledge what we're really doing and we're going, oh, okay, well then we go into what Lauren says and we're asking, well, how do I find 5 more minutes? Well, first recognize all that you're already doing. And then you go, okay, I'm already doing this really well, so I can get this done in 15 minutes. Of course I have 5 minutes. The only reason I thought I didn't have 5 minutes is because I wasn't acknowledging what else I was already doing. So I really do think that every time your life season profile changes, you recognize more that you're doing, give yourself credit for it. And that's how it adapts and becomes really yours and changes as your life progresses. So that's been mine.
I love that. And I think it's so important, as you said, to acknowledge and celebrate ourselves for what we're getting done, for our accomplishments, because a lot of times, especially as mamas, right, it's just like, it's expected. Of course you did that. And it's like, no, girl, like give yourself a freaking high five in the morning. You got those kids to school today. They're alive and you did it. Yes.
Yeah. So I call those victories, and I have victories that I celebrate every week. And victories are tiny little minuscule goals. So like if you wrote down you wanted to get up at 6 a.m., that is a goal that you set, you accomplished. Check. Right. Seriously, you drank your coffee, you set a goal, you accomplished it. We think that goals and routines are these big, massive, elaborate, fancy executive or whatever your professional, whatever thought process you have in your head. Maybe you think that that's how a perfect woman works or whatever. You have some expectation that you set prior to your life. It was put there by society or your mom or your dad or your friend or the people you grew up with, or even the examples maybe you're watching on TV or social media. And so when we don't realize that we're really good at setting goals, we can't also celebrate them. So then you're probably really sucky at celebrating your victories. So if you start celebrating even the tiniest things every single week, then you start realizing what the big accomplishments are and how to celebrate those in a bigger way. And so then your entire day starts becoming celebrations. You start feeling like, wow, today was a great day. And the reason why I can say this is I've been tracking the mood that goes along with those things every single day for like, I don't know, what week are we in? We're week 8 or week 7 of the year. No, week 8. And so for 8 weeks, I've been tracking it. Like, okay, when I do this, then my mood is up. If I don't, then my mood does shift down. And so it's a really interesting dynamic, I think.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Jyoti, would you like to tell us how your routine has shifted through the years?
Yes. So I think adding on to what Erika was saying about what you're already doing, I found that when I started really getting into, natural just ways of being in life, basically, I found that I was just getting overwhelmed because I was trying to do everything. Okay, I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. I have 3 jobs. I'm doing all this other stuff. Like, how am I supposed to get in like a 45-minute meditation and get my spiritual practices in there, and do all these other things, because I thought of it as a routine, ritual, whatever I wanted to call it, but it just became just one more thing to do. And even the gratefulness, like I read in lots of books, like you have to be grateful in the morning, you have to do this in the morning, you have to get up early in the morning. And I'm like, okay, this is just not happening. So the way I kind of thought about it was, well, what am I already doing that I'm not going to stop doing? Like, am I going to stop brushing my teeth one day? Probably not. That would be really bad. Or am I going to stop taking a shower every day? Probably not. So why don't I try to incorporate some of these things into what I'm already doing? So do I have to sit there waking up in the morning and writing down my gratefulness journal? Because lots of things I read, like, well, you have to have a gratefulness journal, you have to write it down because that's how you put your energy out there. I'm like, well, do I have to write it down? Or maybe while I'm brushing my teeth, I can just think of 10 things I'm grateful for in the morning. While I'm taking a shower, maybe I can just relax for a couple minutes and then do a water meditation. And I found that I got so many downloads and ideas in the shower. I thought I was creating something new, that I thought, hey, I need a way to write down something, all the things that come to me in the shower. And then I realized somebody already created that. It's called Aquapad.
Yes, I have it. I have it. I use it all the time.
It's so funny.
I have the same one. It's in my shower right now. I would show you.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes,
So-
it works. You can get it wet. I put it under the water on purpose.
Sabrina,
My fiance draws little pictures for me. I love it.
Right?
Where's your assistant, Sabrina? We need that on screen. We need to see what it is. Where's he at? I know he's by there somewhere.
He's not here. He's not here.
Oh, he's not.
He's on a bike ride. He left at 6 this morning. But yeah, he's I love it. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a waterproof pencil, and it's amazing. And they even have waterproof like voice recorders now, so you can actually have it in the shower, and you can kind of like record like, oh, this came to me, and then and then you just kind of put it out there. So afterwards, you don't forget about it. So to answer your question, Nicole, it's like I figured that as I started getting more things on my plate, on my routine, or just things to do, I just started trying to include things in my daily practices, what I'm doing already, instead of trying to add on to that. Because I figured, what are the things that I'm never going to stop doing? Let me just try to be more mindful in what I'm already doing and incorporate all of these things into that.
Absolutely.
Sabrina.
I want to add on to what Jyoti was saying. She actually said exactly what I was going to raise my hand and say, as far as feeling the pressure of doing all of the things. When I first got into, well, not first, but like as I've been evolving into being a life coach, there was this like heaviness on me to do all the things, make sure I'm drinking a smoothie, make sure I'm working out, make sure I'm doing my meditation, make sure I'm doing my prayer. Yes. That way, when I tell other people to do it, I can actually say, hey, I'm doing it, you should do it. And there was this constant guilt of realizing I'm telling people to do things that I myself don't have time to do, or just aren't prioritizing to do. And I had to really have like a real, authentic, heart-to-heart conversation with myself about the guilt. And realizing, hey, I can still tell people how I appreciate life and how I do life and how I think that they would benefit from life. But it doesn't have to be that I'm doing all those things. It can be like, hey, this works for some people. I don't necessarily do it. Maybe it'll totally work for you. So having the options and not feeling guilty for saying it doesn't necessarily fit in my life, but it may be something that you totally appreciate at this point in your life. So having that conversation with myself, and when I met my fiance, we've known each other for about 5 years now, he knew nothing about personal development. So he was kind of hit with like a ton of bricks when he met me, because I'm just like vomiting all the things all over that he's just messing up in his life all the time.
Wow.
And, when he, I'm like books and audio books and watch this YouTube video and all this stuff. And he actually struggled with the same thing. The biggest one was meditation, where he felt like this heaviness, like I have to sit for 10 minutes. And, over like a few months period, I had to continue to tell him like, hey, if it's not authentically sitting correctly for that day, that's okay. Like if you're going on a bike ride and you're leaving at 6 a.m, you don't have to wake up 30 minutes earlier than you all are ready to get in that meditation if it just doesn't fit right with like your sleep schedule. Like, which would you rather? Now, some people would say like, I would rather get 30 minutes less sleep and do that whole thing. And I'm, meditating on whatever their process is. But if you need that extra 30 minutes of sleep, you can have that 30 minutes of extra of sleep so that you can get up early. So it's the ebb and flow of what's appropriate for you on that day, which I think we've all kind of notated, but yes to that.
I love that, Sabrina. And Maureen?
I love that, Sabrina. And I want to go more off of what Jyoti said. And it's time. The excuse is always time, right? And I love that you said, well, we can condense stuff. We can, do the intention setting while we're making breakfast, or, I love that when I have clients that come and they say, I don't have time for this. And I say, well, you've invested and committed to coaching. So you've made time for coaching. You've invested the money for coaching. So what you're saying is you didn't make time for that. And you always have time for the things that matter. You'll make the time for the things that matter. You'll find, for instance, Nicole, you're not going to say, I don't have time to take care of my child today. You have to take care of your child because it's your priority. So you make time to take care of your child. So I love the condensing idea. And it's not when the inspiration comes, it's just if it comes. I've recently started refurbishing furniture. If you're my Facebook friend, you've seen my my fun little crafts, upcycling, saving the earth, and, turning old things and making them look new. And I wrote a blog about how that really is like our mental journey, our mental health journey is, taking that old and just taking each little step to make it new again. And the integration of that is like Jyoti said, and I just love that. I have found, being that I am older, I am nifty 50, and I have found, as Erika said, through my life season changes, it was of course easy. It's of course easier now. I have a 14-year-old grandson who goes to school all day, and it's just me here. And I don't leave the home to work outside of the home. I work from home. And when I was, a mother with a 4-year-old like you, Nicole, my gosh, I worked graveyard shift and had to get him to daycare. And I had 4 hours of sleep. There was no way my mindset was ever in this space, because I was surviving and I wasn't in that space of thriving and understanding this spiritual journey of, you need to enjoy the journey, Maureen. And it wasn't until, I turned 45 where I was like, hey, wait a minute. There's got to be more to this life than just rush, 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 rush. So I love that all you young moms are so much ahead of the game, I think, than my generation was. And you're discovering earlier, we can do this stuff and in addition to raising our children, having jobs. I love the new generation. I just really am inspired by how young you guys discovered what is important. And so I think that's hope for the future right there. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Laura, you have a question.
We're gonna switch. You can continue and whatever, but we're gonna hand the floor over to. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate that. We're gonna hand the floor over to Tina.
Okay, great stuff that we're talking about today. And one thing I just want to share as we get older, and thank you, Maureen, for sharing. There were times when my kids were little, there was no time for me. It was always for everybody else. So yeah, surviving versus thriving. As I've gotten older, it's been more focused on self-care. Okay, really, focusing on me, okay, because it is so important if we take care of ourselves first. But a question I want to throw at you is, one of my rituals that I just started that has really benefited me is journaling. And I just want to ask the floor here, have any of you practiced journaling, do journaling? Have you found any benefits to journaling? And, maybe writing things down that you're grateful for, but more beyond gratitude, it's journaling things that are coming down, your thoughts, your feelings. Are any of you using journaling in your daily practice or routine, ritual? I call it a ritual. For me, journaling is a ritual. It's something that I do spur of the moment. It is every day. I have a journal right here in front of me that date, and I write things down that just come to me. And I have found that to be helpful, getting my thoughts from my head on paper. And I start to see patterns over the weeks that have come up for me, that getting my thoughts on paper has helped me so much. And it's helped me writing my first book, and I'm in the process of writing my second book, getting it out on paper, and even using an app that I learned to get what you say audio to transcribe. Yeah. What a concept. Somebody told me that. Otter. It's a great tool. Yes. It's really helped me tremendously to write my second book. It was amazing. I was like, wow, because I'm in the car and things come to me. So anyway, so journaling, really, I wanted to ask the floor and your audience, have any of you used journaling? Yes, Nicole.
So this actually ties me back into my own question, because for me, journaling was huge back before I was a mom. I did like to journal every day. I would wake up and do my morning pages and just free write for 10, 20, 30 minutes about whatever it was that was going on in my life, what I was bringing in, and really allow it to be divinely led. Since having a baby, I found it really hard to to make the time to do that. So sometimes I will journal at night before I go to bed, after he's asleep, and I have time to really just like empty my brain. But I will say that has changed for me over the years, because I just don't feel like I have that focused attention to like sit and write and not have someone interrupting me the entire time.
That is so true. That is so true. You know, one thing that's worked is a brain dump, like getting everything down on paper, like anything that's hanging out. Like I've been part of a community in my second book, and the first exercise we do is a brain dump. Everything you got to do, everything you got to just get it down on paper, and then we will start the writing process. So it's doing that brain dump. Yes, Erika.
So I think that journaling too, I love that you brought up journaling, Tina, because I think that the habitualness of us pen to paper, or however you're recording it, a lot of people still are moving more digital. It's fine. It's just a form of recording down. That's been something that's been literally passed down for centuries. That's how we've gotten almost everything. It was journals. It was people's writings, right? But I think just like morning routines, we think that it needs to look a certain way. We think that we need to do and have the time to sit 30 minutes, like Nicole said, and then we get into motherhood and we're like, what the fuck, that can't happen. Or I don't even have a conscious thought. Like I can't even string 4 sentences together, right? Like there's a period of time that actually exists for women where like, I don't even know what the color purple looks like, right? You're so jumbled up. So I took a different perspective, and I'm a habitual planner. I think that plans are us transcribing our life, and what is journaling? Transcription of your life. And so even if you have a planner and you're writing your to-do list, you're putting little notes down, you're still journaling your life. You're putting down the things that you're doing. It doesn't have to be these deep emotional, dig deep thoughts. It doesn't have to be, dear Ellen, today I kissed a boy. It doesn't have to be, my therapist told me that I'm the craziest person she ever met, and everything is like, it doesn't have to be all of that all the time. It could be simply, and I'm going to use an example. This is journaling too. Some things I have told myself that I have failed at, I was making money at this past year. Not even a complete sentence. I didn't know what I was saying. It's still journaling. I can forgive myself by choosing to follow through on tasks, stop saying yes, and be clear on wants and needs and getting the work done. I need very focused time and follow through. That's still journaling, right? We're recording anything down.
Beautiful.
I got good sleep. I'm making progress. I cleaned the house. What's not working for me? My kids' emotions. What was negative? Stress, pain, and arguments. That's still journaling. And it's just 3 words. So I really think that when we remove the stigma or the expectation of what we think all of these things should be, what we'll realize is we are doing them in our lives, and they're designed the way that we need them in our lives. And maybe we just need to tweak them a little bit. Maybe we need to do what Jyoti said and do habit stacking. If trauma can stack and it be negative, well, habits and good things can stack and be positive. And so you stack it with something that you're doing well. Okay, well, I wasn't really understanding my moods, but I really planned really well. So I got something that would help me do it well because I do this over here well. And so I stacked it with something. And so those type of things, if you want to incorporate it into your life, realize where you're already doing it first. And most of us are already recording a lot of things down.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jonathan, yes. Yeah. Lauren.
Piggybacking what Erika was saying, sometimes I found that I gave myself a lot of pressure that journaling has to be something positive. Like you always have to write something positive. Oh, yeah. And what I could actually found that was helpful for me is actually journaling when I feel negative emotions.
Yeah.
If I really want to punch someone in the face,
write it down.
Maybe I should not do that and actually just write that down. Like there's a difficult person I'm working with right now, and this is what I actually feel like doing. And sometimes just putting that out there, even when it has to do with kids, I'm probably going to sound like a terrible mom, but sometimes you feel like strangling your kids. Like, stop. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Give me a second. And I sometimes I just do it on my phone. I had the notes section, pop or my notes app. And I'm like, I really feel like strangling my kids right now. and then I feel like this rush of energy just goes to the phone. And what's funny is like that energy does transfer to the object. Because sometimes my phone just like shuts down with that negative energy for like no reason. I'm like, I had full battery. I don't know why it shut down. I'm like, oh, I just dumped like a whole big negative energy to the phone, and then it starts up again. But then that negative energy is now taken away from me or out of me. So then I can actually then manage the kids or any other situation in a whole lot of a better way. So I kind of found that not giving yourself too much pressure to journal only for positive emotions, like allowing yourself to just put all the negative things out there on paper too, and then you could rip it up and throw it away if that makes you feel better.
Yes, which is another practice in itself. It's ripping something up after you roll it out or burn it. Yes.
I love these impact panels. I just love them so much. It just like brings me so much joy to be on here with you ladies and just hear like so many good ideas, one, but then also like how similar, like we put so much stuff on us as far as like not doing it. And then we sit down with each other and we're like, hey, listen, same, like really same. And it just brings me so much joy. Anyways, I talking about journaling. So for those of you that have heard before or seen me on Mondays, usually, for like 20 something weeks now, I read from my old journals, like when I was 12 in chronological order. So I'm in like 1998 right now. And I'm like, I don't know, 15 years old or something crazy. So I'm totally boy crazy. I'm like macking on all the boys, just anything boy related, I am all into. And I have grown to have such an appreciation for journaling now because of rereading these journals, because there's so many things within these journals, first of all, that I don't even remember. Like I'm writing in these journals, I'm mad sometimes. I'm 15, I'm 50, like, and I'm like writing all angry, like I'm so mad. Rah! And these, I don't even remember. Like I'm so angry on that day. I'm crying. There's like points where there's like teardrops on the paper and I like circle the teardrop and I'm like, look at how sad I am. Look at this tear. And I have like an arrow to a part on the paper where I like dropped a tear. Like I'm so sad. And again, don't even remember the entire entry that I'm rereading. And it's brought me so much realization that we sometimes feel as if our lives are so like important right now. They're so important right now. Everything is falling apart right now. And it really brings into alignment of everything winds up being okay. Like everything is okay all the time. And so writing down these things, like Jyoti was saying, where, sometimes writing down those negative things and tossing it or not tossing it or keeping it for later, but being able to rehash and go back and see them. Like I do my notes too. And I'll go back and I'll reread notes sometimes of like letters I was going to send to people that I was like, let me just get it down on paper and then maybe I'll send it or maybe I won't. And then rereading and being like, wow, thank goodness I didn't send that, or thank goodness I did send that, or whatever it was, or that was really well written. Good job. But it really brings you back to, hey, we don't have to be so serious about all the things all the time. Just keep going over those hurdles. Just keep getting those challenges met. And it's all just part of our story. It's just a long ass story. And it isn't necessarily what happened, but it's what you did next. What you did next. What did you do next? Did you let that one thing that made you cry break you, or did you keep going? And I think that's kind of the moral,
I think Lauren's been trying to get in. Go ahead, Lauren.
Hey. Look, I'm for the people who can't figure out how to find time, right? And so when I was starting to journal, and I still feel like I'm starting to journal, it's really only been a year or so that I've even thought about it. I've always been like a notes app person where I write down a thought. But I got as a gift a 5-minute journal that had prompts. And the last prompt was what could have gone better. And what I found was, it was like goal setting for the day and what went really well and what could have gone better. And what I found was that my internal critic is loud enough that if I was ending with what could have gone better, it was just like my opportunity to crap on myself at the end of the day.
Wow.
And like critique how I could have been a better human that day. And so I switched the order and I started ending with acknowledgement, self-acknowledgement, which is something that you referred to it earlier as celebration or gratitude. But self-gratitude, self-acknowledgement, what did I kick ass at today? Right. And what am I willing to say? Like, great job, Lauren, you nailed that. And it shifted how I went to bed at night, because I wasn't ending with this like stream of all the things I did wrong. I was still putting it in there because there was still stuff I wanted to go better. Right. But I was ending the day telling myself I'm all right. And it sets a different tone for getting into bed. Instead of just rehashing all the stuff I did wrong, there's now a plant of, you made all those calls, you connected with this person you haven't talked to in a long time, you finished that project, whatever it was. And I'm still not a great journaler. I forget about it, or, I don't get to it, or I open it up and I'm like, I don't have anything to say today. I close it back down. But I do find that when I do it and when I get into it, and when I am willing to tell myself I did well, I go to sleep better and I wake up better.
I know we need to go to the next speaker. I just want to say something really, really quick. I'm going to be the voice for the people who don't journal. I'm not a journaler, and don't feel bad if you're not a journaler. I write articles for a living. I write books for a living. I write recaps for my life coaching I write. To journal for me would feel very burdensome. But I'm a sticky note girl. So that's a form of journaling, right? Just Post-it notes all over the place. I mean, they're everywhere. So I just wanted to be the voice for those who don't like to journal. And I know we're all women here, but I can say that most of my male clients are not journalers. And, they're like me, they're jotters. I'm a jotter. I'm making up words here. I really am. But I'm a jotter down. I like my sticky notes. And so I just wanted to say that I love and I envy that you guys can all do that. What I have found is maybe it's a trigger or something in me, because the only time I ever journaled was when I was a kid and I had a bad childhood, things in childhood that I hated, like Sabrina. I had to laugh because I read my diary from like 15, when I was 15 to 16. And it was just like, this boy, going out with my girlfriend, this boy, I think he likes me. It was like page to page. It was like, oh yeah, that was old news yesterday. I was like you. I was like so boy crazy. And I'm like, why did I even write this stuff down? Most of it was like, I hate my parents. I like this boy. That was it. That's the gist of my 14 to 17-year-old. It is. I hated my parents and I loved every boy in the world. Yeah. So, I'm not a journaler. And to me, sometimes you do. I agree, you guys, you need to get it out. But I'm more of a jotter down. I hear a quote, I jot it down. I have an idea, I jot it down. So I just wanted to give the other side of the facet of the diamond there. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm a note person. Sticky notes all the way.
That's great. And to go along with that, and to give highlight to that, which I appreciate you stating that more, Maureen, that I don't do it consistently. So it's kind of like the meditation thing. Sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'll go a few weeks and then won't do it for a few months. And it just depends on whether it feels authentic for that time and that era. And going in and out and ebbing and flowing is okay for all of us. We have to get rid of the guilt, the guilt of like, if I'm going to start journaling, I have to do it forever. No, you don't. Maybe you just need to write some crap down for the next couple of days because you're going through a lot of stuff. Lauren is up next. However, I do want to bring a question up on the screen relating to children. So let's have Jyothi. Do you want to read?
Sure. Questions from Charlotte. For those of you with kids, how to juggle my morning routine with them. It is so stressful in mornings. Advice. I could start, if that's okay. I mean, I have 3 kids, and I totally understand. And I think, like what everyone else was saying, sometimes you just have to involve your kids in what you do. And like I said before, what are the things I'm already doing for myself, like brushing teeth and hygiene type of stuff. But what am I also doing with the kids that I'm not going to stop doing? So are you going to prepare breakfast for the kids? Are you going to, do something else for the kids? Kind of involve them in your morning routine or ritual, whatever you want to call it, and then explain to them what you're doing. So I've actually done a meditation while the kids are getting ready, and I told them, okay, I'm going to put some music on, because it's impossible for me to actually meditate without music with the kids around. And they got into it. I just told them, you don't have to do anything. You just have to kind of leave me alone for 5 minutes while you eat your breakfast. And they got so bored of leaving me alone, they started doing the meditation with me. So, it worked for like a few days. And then next thing I knew, I kind of get up from my meditation after 5 minutes, and they're all still in the meditation. And I was like, what's going on here? It's so silent. Like, are they sleeping? And actually woke them up. And like, what are you guys doing? Like, oh, we just started copying you. And actually that really calmed us down. So then I started teaching them everything. Like, okay, well, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. And now I'm kind of mindfully like washing dishes instead of just thinking of it as a drag. Now I'm doing this. So, or I'm calming my emotions right now. I'm actually going to the bathroom to help me kind of calm down, and then they'll come back. And they started doing that too. They would just disappear and then they would come back. So it's kind of like involving them and actually telling them what you're doing. So they don't think that you're avoiding them or you think of them as a barrier or your or frustration. They feel like they're kind of part of whatever you're trying to do with your own life, which is more motivation.
Erika.
My first question to Charlotte would be, how old are your children and how many do you have?
She has babies.
Because the advice changes. Yeah. So if they're really young children, you probably will not like my answer, but you need to stop thinking that you are allowed to have your morning routine because you don't exist. And so if you're trying to do my morning routine and you have babies, you're fighting an impossibility. Stop it. Your routine can start after they've been settled, after you've taken care of them. So that's my thing for young ones. Even if it's take some of what they need in the morning of their routine and make it yours. So a lot of times when they were young and they need to nurse first thing in the morning. Okay, well, that was a really great time for me to read, to listen to a podcast, to do meditate, to whatever, to write down my schedule. So I adapted my routine to them instead of the other way around. Now, as they got older, that changes. So now I have a lot of kids. And all the ones that are still home span from 15 down to 5, and there's 4 of them. Okay, so now they're in the stage where they have their own routines. And what I found was the reason why it was so stressful is because I was trying to make them adapt to my routine instead of letting them have their own damn routine. I have one child who wants a checklist. She wants all of her things in order. I have a 5-year-old who has this little tiny chore chart, and she loves pushing them over that she made her bed and she brushed her teeth, and she gets satisfaction from it. And so that's her routine. And then I have an 8-year-old who is, I get up at 6 a.m. before anybody. I'm going to get dressed on my own. I'm going to do all of these things and then leave me alone because I am grumpy. I'm done. I'm ready for school. Don't mess with me. I just want iPad time, right? But I was trying to her routine, and that's where the stress came. Instead of going, wait a second, we can all have different routines and still get out the door at the same time, as long as my cutoff is, okay, 15 minutes prior to us leaving, hey guys, shut it down, start putting your shoes on. Okay, now 10 minutes. Hey guys, shoes need to be on, coats need to be on, and giving them that time breakdown so that they can adjust from switching out of their routine into what I was dictating need to be done. So that's kind of my advice on those stages. And then once they get to be teenagers, make them. You need to establish your routine. You're supposed to be becoming a responsible adult, and that's my job as your mother, is to put you into the world as a kind, responsible adult. And this is one of your life responsibilities. So figure out what do you need, and really helping them figure out what works for them and trying different things, just like we're all doing. They can start doing it at a young age. Try things. Does a list work for you? No. Okay, you don't like it, but you do like doing these things. Okay, but you still need to brush your teeth. So you still have to do things you don't like to do, you know, so you just kind of help work with them and navigate. And then at that age, your routine kind of comes more into play. They're doing their thing, you're doing your thing, everybody gets ready and has a great morning. But it's not always great. Like, mornings are stressful. They're very difficult. Sometimes I want to yell at all of them getting out the door, and some days I just want to cry, and sometimes I want to celebrate. But I took the stress off of that, of knowing that every morning is going to be completely different and none of them are going to go exactly the same, which I think that's what we think routines will create, is that everything is just going to go the same way every single day. No, it's not. It's just not. A routine is a foundation that you can come back to when life gets chaotic, that you can return to and say, this is my grounding zone. This is what calms us down. This is what works. But it's not going to happen all the time. So.
That was great. I love these impact panels. I never even would have thought of that.
I love it.
If she would have come to me with that, I would have given her something totally different. And listening to that, Erika calmed me. And I have one child who's 17, and I don't know, he has his own thing now. But just like hearing that makes me realize that, like, this is why these are so important, because pulling from other people who have different experiences can just like light up your world. That was fantastic. Does anybody else have anything else to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, Erika's so true, because we try to force things when we just let it just, you know, adapt, you know, what will work at the time. So yeah, get the morning routine. Because I remember when my kids were going off to school in the morning, I had to get, morning routine was getting them breakfast, getting them dressed, getting them ready to go to school. And then I had to go to work as well. So we have to pivot. I mean, we have to adapt. And how are we going to make those adjustments and not feel that guilt or that we got to do it right now? No, it's just not put so much pressure on ourselves. I think we do that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That was fantastic. I hope that you got something out of that, Charlotte. We are passing the mic over to Lauren.
Thank you. Well, this last question, actually the last two questions, talked a lot about like getting it together, right? And we're all talking about getting it together in different ways. And we're on this panel because in some way, shape, or form, each of us has gotten it together for ourselves. For many of you, it's been with kids. For me, my sort of uniqueness is that I've lived with a chronic illness for most of my adult life. And sometimes I've lived well, and sometimes I haven't lived well with it. And routine has been a big part of living well with it. But it's also, you know, very disruptive. And I don't want to compare chronic illness to children, because children bring more joy than chronic illness does. But whether it's whatever that pulls you away, right? Whether it's an illness, whether it's children, whether it's your parents who need your support, whether it's work that's pulling you in right away, our morning routines get disrupted. And I think for a lot of us, ourselves and the clients that we work with, there is this unforgiving nature for ourselves when we break routine. And so my question to the panel is, where does grace come in for you, for yourselves, for your clients? And how do you reset so that your brain doesn't say like, well, morning routines just don't work for me, I can't do it anymore?
That's good.
Erika.
Well, I'll answer it as somebody who also has many chronic illnesses and a genetic disability. So I am a disabled mom as well. And so I get where you're coming from. And it is like a whole nother child, and probably two. So give yourself credit. It is like dealing with kids. It just is a different child. The different baby that grows a different way. But those things do throw in a lot of unknowns. They also sometimes have to dictate you to change your life and what you're doing, whether it's a completely change your diet lifestyle, or now you have to start taking medication. I had to start incorporating whole entire days for mine to go get IV injections, to go pick up medications, to go see doctors. And it really shifted my entire life. And so I did. I had to give myself grace, and I have to say, you know what? In these categories, I'm not showing up. And it's okay if I don't show up. Nobody really needs me there. Where am I actually needed? And so then I just focused on those. I needed myself first and foremost, and then the people I take care of needed me. And then that was it. And I stopped giving myself pressure on anything else. And sometimes we really do. We have to go, you know what? I'm letting go. I'm not going to have a morning routine. I don't need a nighttime routine. Who cares if the dishes do not get done tonight and the sink is dirty? Fly lady, you can suck it. Like, you just have to get to that point where you tell everything else to go off into the wayside so that you can go, okay, now it's time for me to reset. What is my necessity? What is my care? And what is my indulgence? That's the better self formula, and it's something that we teach to everybody. You can use it for yourself. You can use it for other categories in life. You can use it for business. Necessity, care, indulgence. If you don't have those three categories and you don't have them clearly defined for your life, you will consistently betray yourself. And that's what chronic illness is doing. It betrays our body, right? And so to combat that, you have to set, what are my necessities? What is my care? And what is my indulgence? And all those categories look different. What is necessity for me or care for me is an indulgence maybe for somebody else. I get my lashes done. That is an indulgence for most women. It's very expensive. It is a care for me because I don't have any lashes left because my body has depleted myself of that. And I don't feel like a woman. And I also feel like I have to spend a lot of time putting makeup on when I don't do it. I do lashes, I wake up, I go. I'm like, this is awesome. I don't even have to wear makeup, right? So I changed my perspective on some of the things. Nails were another thing. I'm just going to use these as an example because people tend to think, oh, that's, self-care, self-indulgence. I'm getting my nails. No, it became a necessity for me because I was on camera. I was doing the job. I was presenting with my hands, right? So it's not an indulgence. It's not even a care. It's a necessity for my life and for my job, right? And so by classifying those things, you start giving yourself really great boundaries, and it helps you reset and restart new routines that are based on you, not somebody else.
I love that categorizing of, what is essential for you, or what is a luxury or an indulgence, and knowing that it's different for everyone. I always ask, what's the least you can do to make today successful, right? Because sometimes you simply cannot fill in the blank, right? And so I'd love to hear other input on what do you do to offer yourself grace and reset. Jyoti?
So I was making the mistake of waiting for vacations or travel or something that, you only do once in a while for some of us. If you have careers and you have other things to do, or kids to take care of. And, that's not a way to reset like once a year or twice a year or whatever number of times. So I started creating, I'm a firm believer in kind of incorporating things into what you're already doing or how your day is already going. So I started kind of taking 5 minutes out of every hour to reset. As much as I could. Of course, nothing is perfect, but out of waking hours, I kind of, I started incorporating this into my meetings, especially the meetings that I run for my businesses and for my career. I would tell the team, okay, we will end every meeting at 5 minutes before the hour, and I'm going to give you that 5 minutes back, but I want you to use it wisely for yourself. So basically, get off the computer, do something, change your physiology, look out the window, go take a 5-minute walk, do some push-ups or jumping jacks for 5 minutes, go drink water. It has to be for you. And whenever the next meeting comes, I want to see how you use that 5 minutes. And of course, in the beginning, they my coworkers or my people that work for me kind of started making things up. Oh yeah, we used it. Why, but then after they really got into it. And I started using that for myself too. So I kind of use that 5 minutes every hour to reset. in whatever ways that I can think of, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditating for 5 minutes, whether it's just, physiologically kind of changing yourself, because when you change your physical energy, it also changes your emotional energy. So I found that kind of incorporating small bits and pieces throughout the day and resetting yourself continuously throughout the day puts you in that high vibrational energy as much as you can.
You know, I love what you are both saying. It's being in the moment, and whatever that is, and just being mindful of where you are and just being present instead of thinking of yesterday and tomorrow. Where are we right now? We're right here doing this, a phenomenal impact panel, not thinking of anything else, just being right here in the moment. And I think throughout the day, just cherish the moments that you have and be grateful for where you are, no matter what. As we go through challenges, we all go through challenges. And so it really is important to be in the moment.
Yeah,
is my
absolutely.
advice.
Yeah.
Opinion.
Maureen.
I was thinking as you guys were all speaking, and the one thing that came to mind was, when do we feel guilt, shame, and disappointment? And it all comes from expectations. And so I think when we wake up expecting that we have to do these things, we can let ourselves down when our bodies can't meet that expectation, right? Or our emotional state can't meet that expectation. Our mental health can't meet that expectation. So I agree. We all understand mindfulness, being in the moment. But I think it's also, Lauren, just accepting that whatever today brings. So like setting that intention and saying, you know what? However I feel today, physically, mentally, or emotionally, that's where I'm going. I love the reset, Jyoti. Since I never leave my house, and I love not leaving my house, my husband doesn't understand it. I have put up a ping pong table, a dartboard, and this little ring game that's attached to a string. And that's what I do between clients, because it can get heavy, right? It can get like really weigh me down. And I'm like, you got to let this stuff go. Or I'll go out and start sanding a piece of furniture. So I love that you said that. Take that time for yourself. Just get away for a moment and do something. And it doesn't have to be, like, I love what Erika said, for her is that's her necessity, but it doesn't have to be going to get your nails done or going to get your hair done or going, for a massage, although that would be nice every day, but just taking that moment away. And I've learned, like, I started this off saying that I have no expectations for 2022 and I'm just letting it flow. It has been so cool to feel that ease and that peace of, hey, I don't know what tomorrow brings, and I'm okay with not knowing that. And that is really, for me, been a life changer, where I have no expectations on myself or my business or my family or anything. It's just whatever today brings. And may I be open and okay to accept whatever it brings. If I need to rest, I'm going to rest. Exactly. If I'm going to hustle today, I'm going to hustle today. If I have opportunity, I'll grab it. It's go with more your feeling than your mind, and say, if this feels good today, I'm going with it. And I can have mercy and grace on myself. Today, I just need a nap. So that's going with the flow, ebb and flow, as Sabrina said. I
love what you said, Maureen. Accepting, go with the flow. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have read the book Atomic Habits.
I'm reading it now.
Great book. And one of his points is, instead of putting pressure on yourself to do the list of things, right, which there's a lot of advice on doing the list of things, decide that you are a person who, right? And so if one of your morning routine goals or ritual goals is meditation, you wake up in the morning and you think, I am a person who meditates. And some days you'll think, not today, right? And so today, I'm not doing it, but I am still a person who. And for me, that was really a big shift from putting pressure on myself to do the checklist of things to deciding I'm a person who does these things and embodies these things. And some days it's just not going to fit in. I'm a very all or nothing person. And so in the past, when I tried to build routines, if it didn't work, if I set up this whole schedule for what my morning is going to look like from here on out for the rest of my life, and it didn't work that first day or that first week, I would say, well, this isn't for me. I can't keep up with it. But when I start to think I am a person who, then it's part of me. I'm also a person who makes jokes. I'm also a person who gets sad sometimes. I'm also a person who takes an entire day to sleep because I don't feel well. I'm also a person who kicks ass at other things and on other days. And so if I'm telling myself I am a person who, and one day I just don't do it or can't do it, I'm still that person. I just didn't fit in the thing that goes with it. And for me, that offered me a whole new level of grace that this all or nothing inside voice tells me isn't okay. And so that has really worked for me. And I'm learning to embrace imperfection in new ways because of it.
That's what I thought of as soon as you said that was perfectionism mentality. And that's something, thank you for that. I'm going to use that for my clients who have this thought where it's all or nothing, or it's, I cannot fail. And I love that. I am a person who, and so it's not that I have failed. I can't do this. I didn't meet this expectation today, but I am a person who takes naps some days. I am a person who, I love that. Oh, I love that, Lauren. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, I love what you're saying, Lauren. I really do. Everybody, this is just amazing. Amazing.
This is amazing. You all are an amazing group of women.
Yes.
And Lauren, I think that's a great, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Lauren, I thought that was great because I think especially if you're going through something difficult and you thought you got over it, or you've processed those feelings, or you're done with that phase of whatever cycle you're in, and then something triggers you, and then you feel like, why do I feel like this again? And sometimes you give yourself a lot of grief, and sometimes other people, I thought you got over that. I thought you're over the angry phase, or the denial phase, or the hurt phase. And I think if you, like you said, if you think of yourself as, I am a person that is resilient, that I'm a survivor, and yeah, sometimes you have some things that may trigger you to kind of that feel like it's putting you backward, but it's really not. And especially, I think this is a great reframe. Like, no, I am a person that I am over it, but something triggered me, so I kind of thought about it for a few seconds and I processed those emotions. But now, I'm done processing, moving on, because I am a person that is a survivor. I have survived this. So I think it's a great reframe.
Thank you, everyone.
We do have a question that just came up. Erika, do you want to read?
Yeah, so this one is advice on private time with your partner when you're just so tired at night. Stop thinking that you have to have sex at night. Stop also thinking that you have to have sex at the moment it's time to go to bed. Like, you could have it at 9 o'clock once the kids go to bed and you don't go to bed till 11. Or you could wake up in the morning and have it, or you can meet for lunch and have it. Like, there are so many other ways that you can find private time with your partner where it is not at the time where you're the most exhausted. Because again, we need to change expectations.
Yep.
And so somewhere in your life, Veronica, that expectation has been set for you, that this is the time and the only time that this act or activity happens. And so you need to change your mindset. And I love that Lauren talked about that, because the author of Atomic Habits actually got that from I am statements. And so he just added a few more words. I am statements is an actual belief. It's an action. Your mind believes it. So if you say, I am fat, guess what? You're fat. And your body will do everything in its power to make that statement true. And it has no other choice but to acknowledge it and to accept it and to make it true. So if you want to change it, you have to change your I am statement. So I am a sexual person who has sex at any time that they want. Like, whatever your statement needs to be. I am a woman who enjoys it this time, or whatever. Like, change your statements up, change your mentality, because it helps you change your expectations. And then have the conversation with your partner and say, listen, dude. Which
or
I did with my partner.
Or girl,
whoever it is that you're with your partner.
I'm exhausted at 10, 11 o'clock at night. If you want to hit me up, 9 p.m. is your ideal time. I don't care if I'm on the couch, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, have these open conversations of why do you expect that it needs to happen the moment we go to bed? You know,
Exactly.
maybe they have holdups too. So you have to have open conversations, and you have to change your I am statements. And then once you do those things, your expectations start to follow suit, and they will change. And then you'll start having more of a life designed by your expectations, not the world's expectations. So that's my personal advice. I'm not perfect at it. I mean, I have a lot of kids, so I'm not getting a lot of private time. And I have a 5-year-old who still sleeps in my bed, Veronica. So with that being said, we don't do it at night because there's a baby in our bed still. So we find other times. So I'm telling you this as somebody who has to do this on a regular basis, not somebody who is not actively doing it. I'm actively finding little times. So, showers are really
and
great
I
place
think
too.
to go along with that, what Erika's saying is overly communicate. You know, one of my biggest issues is, you know, the cliche, right, stereotype of it, sex happening at night is usually after dinner. And I'm not feeling sexy after dinner, like ever. So even on date nights, it's like, ooh, we went out for a nice date. You know, the whole, you know, we're holding hands and it's cute and it's romantic. But I ate a whole meal and a half a bag of popcorn and some twists. Like, I am not feeling my best. So overly communicating, as awkward as it is, like, hey, that might have to happen before the date. That way we can go out and have a good time, no expectations. I can just pass out once we get home, and there's none of that extra stuff. So then, you know, my partner's feeling satisfied. I can just, like, whatever, eat a steak and the potatoes and desserts. No worries on that end. And all because of communicating.
Yep.
You know, communicating that extra little, realizing that, right? Feeling like, why is this happening? Why do I not? What is the reason? Well, the reason why is because I freaking just gained 20 pounds in my stomach area. So, you know, how do we get over that problem? Well, do it before the 20 pounds was added in, and then we got a solution. So figuring that out.
That's good. That's good.
I think too, I'm like you, forget it after dinner, man. Food coma. No, I'm bloated. Knock it off, get away. But honestly, I think it's, again, coming back to, I'm sounding like a broken record on this panel, but it's coming back to expectations. You know, we go out for a date, we go out to dinner, we come back, and, you know, just like you said, Erika, it's like only at night. And I think there's this lack of authenticity. So I always tell my couples, you know, have your couch time, connect on an intimate level, and then guess what? The sex kind of just flows, and you will find that time, whether it's just a little make out, or, you know, when you really feel heard by someone and you feel that they get you, man, your sex level just, you know, just increased. All those hormones, all that just went up, you know, tenfold. So don't even set it up for our question. Don't even set it up like we're going to have sex. Let's just sit down and have a talk, and let's see if we're both feeling authentically that it's going to go there without the expectation of it having to go there. And I think we do that a lot as couples, as we need to have it once a week, twice a week. We need to do this. I even tell my couples, you know what, let's go ahead and schedule it. You say this weekend at some point, this is what we're going to do. So we don't have during the week when we're exhausted, that expectation of, I've got to perform when I don't feel like it, because it's not going to be as good anyway, right? You don't want to be like, oh God, let's get it over with. I got to sleep. I got to take my makeup off, you know, put my mask on. So, you know, too much pressure. People, stop it.
I know, we put so much pressure on ourselves.
Yeah,
we do. And I think more so as women, we take this on, because I had this conversation with my husband, and he was like, yeah, I don't think about any of that. I was like, seriously? He's like, no. Never.
No.
He's like, I'm never too tired. I don't care what my body looks like. Like, none of that stuff ever crosses my mind. And I was like, well, then that's where our communication problem is because it does mine, like, all the time. Mm-hmm. If I haven't taken a shower in a few days, I'm like, no. If I haven't, like, there's things that hold me back from being my free self as a woman.
Yeah.
When I was having babies all the freaking time, I was like, get away from me. That is danger zone. Go away, go away, go away. Yeah. Right. And so that open communication is so essential, and to realize that we don't really think the same at all. And so even if you're in a same-sex partnership, somebody comes with a feminine energy, some comes with a male energy, and it's the male energy. It's not a man, it's that male energy of that's what I feel and that's the thought process. And so we've got to discuss it, because we've got to bring those two energies together so that they align, so they're not fighting each other, right? And so that really does fall on us a lot of times as women, because we kind of have the energies that are like mixed up. So we need to be able to communicate, and our energies change very quickly. We can be like, yeah, that was a no-go for 3 months, but now, hey, no holds bar. I don't care about that boundary, right? Like, so you really just have to communicate them and set your boundaries and start learning what you like and what feels good to you. When, like Sabrina said, just like not after dinner. Don't take me out on a date and feel like you're going to get lucky afterwards. You're going to get lucky beforehand.
Yeah.
You can mess up. And my thing too is, if I just took a shower and set my curls, no.
Yeah.
Don't touch. Even hugs and passionate kisses, I'm like, no, come on, don't touch me. I just like literally these curls have to last an entire week.
Yeah.
You will get lucky multiple times during this week, but not the second. Like I just set my curls, right? And as silly as it is, it really was a boundary for me, because anytime it happened, I was mad and angry afterwards, because I'm like, damn it, now my hair's all effed up.
Yeah.
And I was mad about it, right?
Yeah.
I was mad because, again, curls have their own head. So it just was a matter of communicating.
Curly girls unite, Sabrina.
I know, Sabrina.
Don't mess up my hair for sex.
People don't understand. These can go frizz like bozo, like in an instant. So I can appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Also, to go along with Maureen, not necessarily agreeing with the journaling. I don't necessarily agree with the scheduling of sex. And people do. That's like a real thing. I know that that's a real thing. I hate it. It's just so extra. It's there, and then it's staring at me, and then what if I'm interested on Tuesday, real interested on Tuesday, and then Wednesday comes along and then I'm not interested? It's this whole thing in my head. So what I do, because usually as much as we're all like equal rights, the woman kind of has the say in like whether this is happening or not, at least in my life. So not projecting onto anybody else. So they're usually interested all the time, but it's whether or not we're also interested is what actually is going to make it happen. So for me though, because my spouse has mentioned that, like, hey, can we just schedule it? Because it's been 4 days, but I'm like, well, I gave it to you 3 days in a row before the 4 days. So like, let's break this up, buddy. So
I'm good for the next month. No.
So what I do in my head is, because I realize I don't like the scheduling, I have to be empathetic to the fact that this is like, I can't just be lackadaisical about this. I have to be respectful to the drive of what the needs are. So in my head, I'm constantly, he always thinks it's at 0. And then I'm always like 17, right? Like, no, we're at this number. And he's like, are you sure? Like, it feels like 0. So there's this constant like, so I have to, in my head, keep a schedule. And I really do, like in my head, like I make sure that only a certain amount of days go between or whatever. I'm cognizant of it. So as
you do schedule
in your relationship, it's important. Whoever has that power, or however you want to explain that. I'm not trying to sound like this is an uneven thing in our household or anything, but I know that I have to like be respectful to him, and I have to put on the mood or whatever, every 2 to 3 days, with or without me necessarily being super into it, out of respect. So I think that, because I don't want to schedule it. So you have to do one or the other. You have to either like make sure that his needs are taken care, or your partner's needs are taken care of respectfully, or you have to be, so that both of you know, or you have to be respectful. This is my opinion, or you have to be respectful and just make sure that it's happening yourself, in my opinion. So
And that's what I meant by the scheduling, because some couples, and I mean, I'm included in this at times, sometimes it's just not the first thing on my mind. It's not even the 10th thing on my mind. It's like, oh shoot, I forgot. It's been a couple weeks now, hasn't it? Not that I don't want to, I just am not making that a priority, and I'm not taking the initiative. So the scheduling part of it is, especially with the families with young kids, is you will get so wrapped up in your life, you forget to reconnect in those intimate moments. And now all of a sudden, number one infidelity cause for men, lack of physical, right? And number one for women, lack of emotional connection with their partner. And what is intimate time? Both of those for each partner. So it's funny that you say you don't like the scheduling, but you schedule it in your head. You just don't put it on paper. You know,
he just doesn't know. I like it to be surprised. I like to be surprised. Like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? Is it? Oh my! Like, I like the adrenaline. You know, like he's kissing he starts. Can I step in and say I'm like, ooh, where's this going? Is this going someplace?
Right?
This makes
the makeout session.
Yeah, instead of like, oh, he's kissing on my neck because today's Wednesday at 7.
Like, I'm okay with that too. It's Wednesday. Let's go.
Erika, what were you going to say?
I do have to just say something, just because, and this wasn't like the subject of today's panel, but as a survivor of domestic violence and abuse, and one of those categories, there are 6 major categories of abuse, and one of those, the biggest ones, is sexual. And so to feel like you are expected to do anything in your relationship, that you don't have the ability to say no, or that you are in control of your own schedule, is a form of abuse. And so I just want people to be aware of that. You are 100% in control. It's not your responsibility to take care of anybody else's needs. That's what they have hands for. And you can clearly tell them that. You physically are not responsible for their satisfaction any of the time. It is a gift that you give to them whenever you choose to, and whenever you deem is appropriate for you and your body, period. And if they are a grumpy, frustrated person because they're not getting sex, well, then they need to figure their own shit out, not you. It's not your responsibility to keep them satisfied. Now, in a healthy relationship, you both want it, you desire it, and you want to be together. You do want to have that intimacy, and you want to keep each other satisfied. That is a mutual partnership. If it is not that, then it's not healthy. And so let's be sure that we are also focusing on, if you're extremely tired at night and your partner is putting pressure on you to have sex, and you're saying yes, but you really don't want to, that is, we can utilize it. That is a relationship rape or marriage rape if you are married. So it's your decision, 100%. And it is your choice, and it is never your responsibility to take care of somebody else's needs or satisfaction if it doesn't feel good to you. So I just want to blanket statement that. Now, within our relationships, we all have agreements, and Sabrina and her fiance, they have a healthy relationship, and she knows that this really works for them, and that is something that she does. And Maureen, in your relationship, right? In my relationship, I went through a period of time where I was reliving my trauma. And it was years later. And so because sex was a really big of it, my husband wasn't allowed to touch me. And there was months. And I'm like, you have to understand. And if you don't understand, then you got a hand. I'm not leaving you, but I can't give you this part of my body right now because it's really, really difficult for me. Yeah. And I also can't feel like it's an obligation, because then I feel like I'm back in that same situation, right? So again, it goes back to that open communication. It goes back to setting what's right for you in your life, changing expectations that maybe have been put upon you in previous relationships or by society, and really asking yourself, what in this category meets my need? And then how do I want to give it?
100%. So. Yeah. And to go along with that, Erika, same with my situation. It was real difficult in the beginning too, getting into finally a healthy relationship. And while you were speaking, I actually thought of that. That might be what my issue is with scheduling, because scheduling seems forced to me. So that was like an ongoing thing in my other relationship. It didn't matter whether I was in the mood or not in the mood. We were, and that just was the thing. And so that might be the issue. So I appreciate you saying that, because I didn't even put that together. We got 30 minutes left, and we got Jyoti on the floor to take over the mic. You are up, girl.
All right. So I think we covered a lot of great topics today. I'm going to piggyback off of all the topics discussed and see what we can give to our audience in how I think of things. So if you only had 5 minutes for your morning routine, or you just had that 5 minutes every hour, and to build a routine or some sort of ritual that you can carry through the rest of your day, what would that be for all of you ladies? And as part B to that question, have you been able to, you know, everything that you've been learning, teaching, coaching, are you able, you know, how have you been able to kind of bring all of that together in like bits and chunks, for those of us that are busy, that might not have a whole lot of time, or energy, you know, to incorporate something new. You know, maybe each of us can kind of go over what would you include in that 5 minutes every hour, or the 5 minutes in the morning.
Get up and move to music. That was my music, incorporating it more into my life because I realized it had been stolen and taken away. And so music and moving my body, like you said, Josie, it's proven. You need to get up, change your environment, change your dynamic, change the physicality of your body, and it changes your mindset. And it can easily shift anytime, from morning to 5 minutes, you know, in the middle of your day, to, well, that was a really shitty conversation that I was very uncomfortable having. Okay, go move my body. Or even, you know, delivering bad news. It kind of seems like, well, that doesn't seem appropriate to like deliver bad news and then get up and start dancing like you're partying. However, it changes your mindset, and it immediately doesn't allow you to stay in this area over here. So that was mine. Get up and move and turn on music.
For me, whenever I have like a minute, I like to breathe. And like, we're all breathing all day long, right? But sometimes you feel like you're breathing more in than out, and your shoulders go up to your ears, and you know, and you sort of lose your day. And I found I'm a former workaholic. I used to work 80 to 100 hours a week, and not take any breaks. Like, I would be dancing in my seat because I had a pee and I didn't want to get up and, you know, break the work cycle. And what I learned early was that if I could just take 1 minute to consciously breathe, and there's a breathing exercise called square breathing or box breathing, where you breathe, you choose a number of seconds. You breathe in, you hold, you breathe out, you hold again, right, for the same amount of seconds. So my favorite is 5 because I love double numbers. And if I do that for 5 seconds, I do it for 55 seconds. And I've got like a round number and double numbers. And for me, I like the counting. I like the stopping everything else. I like my eyes to be closed. And it's only 1 minute, and it's a complete reset. So if I can have a minute or 5 minutes, I mean, there are a ton of breathing exercises, or just a couple of minutes to sort of reset in between, it's that conscious breathing, just that stopping everything else and only focusing on breathing.
I love it. My favorite thing is nature. So my backyard, I'm out there probably 85% of my day, and I've created this beautiful space where it's where I love to be. It literally is the room I live in, which is outside. So for me, that 5 minutes is I go barefoot in the grass, and I just stand there, close my eyes, my hands out, feel the sun, listen to the birds. It's that kind of reset we talked about earlier. And it's also just being grounded, as well as being open to receiving whatever, you know, sort of being that conduit of clarity and clearing out. And especially between clients and coaching, when, you know, you've got to clear one energy and then bring in another one, it's good for me to let anything out that's negative, to be able to just be refreshed in between. But I think nature, walks, I think oceans, I think those in Florida who are so lucky to have oceans. For me, it's all about nature, animals, birds, anything that gets you outside, feeling the breeze, all the elements, the wind, the rain, the water, the ground. So yeah. Nature.
And I think Maureen, actually being outside with bare feet on the ground is such a great grounding exercise, because you literally feel the earth and the energy of the earth into the soles of your feet, while you feel the sun coming down your head. So it's such a great balancing and grounding exercise. That's great.
And I always seem to get the most inspiration and messages because, so I'm also a medium. So, I'll get these messages for people when I do that before we have sessions. And it's amazing how clear I am when I'm doing that. It's almost as if it's just washing away anything between me and spirit to just sort of, here it is, I'm ready for it. And I'll say that I'm open, I'm receptive, bring whatever I need right now. Today.
So I'm going to be showing my millennialism with this answer. I am an elder millennial. I'm literally the year of 1982. So I was like, no. But and for real, this is a cliche. I'm freaking also getting messages just like Maureen, but my messages are from TikTok. So the TikTok has my algorithm, and my TikTok is filled with motivational women, just beautiful, powerful, elegant, verbally brilliant females who just shower me with just gorgeous messages. Whenever I'm just in a funk, I'm in a writer's block, I've just done too many Zoom calls, and everything is just like, I just need to take a break. I open up my TikTok, I always stand up, walk around a little bit, watch maybe, 5-10 gorgeous TikToks of messages that tell me that I'm awesome and I'm powerful and I can do all of the things. And then I set it down and I get back to work. That's what I do.
Love it. Affirmations through social media. That's okay, millennial. If you're using it for good, I'm all about it.
Yep. Anybody else?
I actually I wanted to go back to the previous question really quick. There's a program that I tried called Marriage Fitness by Mort Fortel. It's an amazing program. It kind of ties into what we're talking about as well, creating routines and rituals. And it talks about the importance of connection in human beings in general. And, they talk about how when you first connect with someone, whether it's a friend, spouse, whomever, someone you're dating, you might not need a romantic interest in that person, but everything starts with a feeling of connection. Because if you don't feel connected to someone, then you're probably not going to really engage with them, to a large degree. And what they say happens in any sort of relationship is you have to keep that connection going on a daily basis. Not on, I'm already with this person. They already know I love them. I know they love me. So we tend to kind of, disengage a bit, or like, okay, well, we don't have to spend so much time connecting with that person because we're already connected. And how that ties into what we're talking about today is they talk about, throughout the day, you have to maintain that connection with whomever is close to you in your life, especially your romantic partner if you have one. So get up in the morning and the way they tell you to do that is just in bits and pieces. You don't need to spend a half an hour cuddling with that person or even be physically in the same room. Send a text message like every couple hours throughout the day if you're not, in the same vicinity as the person, or just pick up the phone and just call for like 30 seconds. In fact, they say don't make it more than 30 seconds. You're not trying to chit chat or talk about how your day is. And you're just like, hey, this really exciting thing happened, or hey, did you hear the news? Blah blah blah, or hey, look, it's a great day outside, and then bye, and that's it. Because all you're doing is just you're basically establishing that connection, maintaining it throughout the day, so that when it does come time to actual intimate time or intimacy, you already have that connection built up.
I love that.
And not letting that go. And so they talk about, there's so many other things they talk about, but they talk about the verbal touch, and then they call it like the verbal touch, and then like the physical touch. So the physical touch also does not have to be true intimacy. It can just be a hand on the shoulder, just like a rub in the back, as you're passing by, you're just like brushing lightly against the person if you're, in the same room. So it doesn't have to be all like very intimate or really thought out kind of things. But the moment you do that, you've already you're establishing that connection. And they also, so it's kind of, things that you might want to build in your routine or rituals every day until it becomes a habit. But that's really going to keep that connection going with anyone, but especially your romantic partner.
Absolutely.
I love that. I've heard once that a relationship should be like an EKG chart. So, the beats that go up and then you come back and you're up and then you come back. So, your relationship should look like that even steady flow EKG graph where, you're not always going to be attached at the hip like this, but, you're going to go here and come back, and just having those moments of reconnection is really what keeps any relationship strong. Like you said, whether romantic, family, friendship, it's putting that time in to make sure that you are connecting and that you just take that tiny little moment to say, hey, I care about you, or how's your day going, or was thinking about you. It doesn't take that much time to do a text. We all know that. I always say this to people who say, I don't have time. I go, you go to the bathroom at least 2 or 3 times a day. You have 2 minutes. I guarantee you.
It's good. Right? That's good. 100%. This is actually bringing up another topic for a panel.
Yes.
Yeah, like 5 love languages or romance or sex. That'd be good. I had never even really thought of that before. Any closing thoughts, ladies? This has been absolutely fantastic as usual. I so appreciate everyone here. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up? Erika.
Okay, so let's do a practice together. I do this with my children. I make them but I end their day with them. So I lay down with each, and they're all young girls. So I really hope that this helps them. But we do our I am statements. And so this is how it goes. I am strong. I am brave. I am kind. I am smart. I am helpful. I'm beautiful. I'm courageous. I'm creative. And whatever your words are, you keep on going. And you say that. And at the end, you say, I am the best that I can be.
I love that.
And if you just do that every single day, whether you start your day that way or you end that day well with it, your mindset will change. Because again, it's I am statements, and your body and your mind and the universe has no other option but to make those true. And they are true. You are strong, you are brave, you're courageous, you are all those things. But get your words and set them. And sometimes it's so cute because they'll have a day and they'll be like, I'm helpful because I did this, or I was creative because I did this. And it helps them remember when during the day they were those things. And I never started off with I am beautiful, just so you guys heard I am brave. I started off with real tangible things that they can have in their life, because beauty is not the first thing. And so I intentionally put that like way down on the list so that they would never start it with that. And it's helped. They never start with that subject. And so if you do anything from what we've all talked about, give yourself that gift, because it will give you routine, and it will also give you the grace that you need to be the best version of yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to do that with my son today, and he's going to roll his eyes at me. That's a good one.
My son does too. The girls love it more. Like, they are to the point where they don't want to go to bed without doing the ritual, which is we go through I am statements. They say that, then I do a prayer, and then I sing them their 3 songs and end with the one that I made up. But they love it so much that they ask for it. And when they don't have it, it's like they can't end their day well. So it's helping them establish also a routine. And we talked about that earlier, about how do we incorporate this into the people around us? Well, you set the example. If you set the example, you build consistency and discipline in your life, well, then they're going to want to build consistency and discipline as well. But if you're not consistent and disciplined, they're not going to be, right? So give them ways that they can do it. Give yourself ways that you can do it that are very, very simple. And this is the simplest thing you can ever do. It takes literally less than a minute, and it will change your life, because again, your mind and body and the universe has no other option but to make those things true.
Absolutely. That's great. I love it. Anything else, ladies?
I have something that my grandson taught me this week. He said, Grandma, you talk a lot. And he said, when we start talking, you go into life coach mode. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. It's just kind of who I am. It's hard to take that hat off. He told me this, and I think this is going to apply to what we can do for ourselves. He said, sometimes I need you to listen. Sometimes I need you to comfort me. And sometimes I need you to solve a problem. And I said, how will I know? And he said, just ask me. So I think this applies to ourselves as well. Are we listening to ourselves? Do we need rest? Lauren, when your body doesn't feel good, mind and body. Let's just listen to ourselves. Do we have compassion for ourselves today? Are we getting hard on ourselves today? Are we doing negative self-talk? Do we need to vent? Journal. Go ahead, journal. I'm going to post-it note, jot down. If you just have to get it out, scream at the top of your lungs, whatever, venting. Is there a problem to be solved? Then you sit down and you say to yourself, what am I learning here? What is this teaching me? So I think to end it from my 14-year-old, believe it or not, again, the youth are amazing today.
Yeah.
Is, are we listening? Are we venting? Or are we solving?
Super self-aware right there. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's great. Anybody else? We still got people hanging on, listening. Lauren.
Yeah, again, in watching these panels and being on these panels, I think sometimes the impression goes out that like we've got all our stuff figured out and we know how to do, right? I know, everybody shake your head, please, because we don't, right? And one of the big lessons for me, for my clients, for other coaches that I interact with is you can only do the best that you can do. And a friend of mine who's a coach gave me that a couple of years ago, and it has just stuck with me. You can only do the best that you can do. Being angry at yourself because you didn't do your routine or your rituals, or you didn't participate in the day that you wanted, the way that you wanted to. Okay, you can only do the best that you can do. Tomorrow is new. What went well today? What can you acknowledge yourself for? What can you celebrate that was great? And what does tomorrow look like for you? And don't carry what didn't work today into tomorrow and just assume that's the way things are. You get to reset every day. You get to reset every moment, and you have so much choice, and you don't have to do it alone. So whether you hire a coach, whether you get a friend to be your accountability person, or a partner, or your kids to say like, hey mom, did you do your 5-minute meditation today? Did you do your breathing today? Right? Don't feel like you have to do it all yourself. Don't feel like it's a failure and it's never going to work if you don't do it one day. Every day, every moment is a reset and an opportunity to choose.
That's great. Awesome. Anybody else?
That's a great point, Lauren. I actually learned a tip very similar to that, where, I mean, I actually was doing that myself. I thought I had to be super mom, super woman, super this, super that. I had to do everything. And then I really quickly realized, of course, I got burnt out. And then I realized, like, who am I doing all this for? Like why do I feel this need to be validated by people or society, or because they're not doing what I'm doing, and they'll never understand, what I'm actually doing because they're not in my shoes. So I quickly learned, I learned this tool. I forgot who came up with this, but it's like a quadrant where it's like the top quadrant, you put what you're really good at, and this is kind of like you can do this all day, any day, in your sleep, and you're like, this is what you're meant to do. And then there's another quadrant where you're really good at it, but you don't really like doing it. Somebody else can actually do it. And then there's another quadrant where you're kind of okay at it, you can do it, but really it's not in your best interest to do that. And then there's like the I suck at it column or box, where you really shouldn't be the person doing this. And cooking is it's in my I suck at it column. I'm like, yeah, I can survive. I eat to survive. I am not a foodie by any means. And for the longest time, I had to cook and I had to do this and I had to do that. And then I realized my daughter, who came up once she turned 9, she loved cooking. So now she's like, and she really prides herself and like, I'm going to cook for the family. And like, you know what? You do that. Because and the stuff that she makes is like so much more amazing than what I could ever do. And provided that it's safe. So I think if you're a mom out there and you do have kids and you have a lot going on, or a dad or anyone really, like, don't feel like you have to be the one that's doing like everything in all those 4 quadrants. Especially the I suck at it column, because you're probably doing a disservice to your. I mean, now my kids are like, oh, we don't have any food. I'm like, okay, I'll make. And like, no. Anyone else make it?
That's great. That's great. Great.
Can I do that with laundry, Jyoti? Can I say I suck at laundry and just like pass it on? I actually did do that. My husband takes it on now.
Taught my kids how to do laundry.
Like, I hate it.
Yeah. Everybody in our house does their own laundry. I only do my laundry. That's it. Well, listen, this was fantastic. As usual, I so appreciate you ladies hanging out with us. For those of you that are still hanging on, watching live, we so appreciate you being here, supporting us, and we appreciate all the comments and the questions that came through. Thank you. It's about that time. This was her version. I hope you received some awesome tips on how to start your mornings. I know I did. If you have an amazing story to share, a struggle to triumph, I do podcasts singular here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays now. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. For those of you that don't know, if you are new to this platform and you loved what you saw, make sure that you share and spread the word. This platform is to educate and inspire others. So do something awesome today. Much love.